Oh, and Marcus, two Marcuses. Hey, how are you guys doing? First of all, could you guys just address how you came to this decision and what was different today from yesterday, other than Bob mentioned you guys didn't want to get rushed?
Yeah, this is Marcus. I think that where we were at last night, it was about 6:30 Central Time in Arlington. Mike Fires was pitching. He said, "Hey, what are we gonna do, guys?" And I think that as a group, we just felt like there wasn't enough time to make a decision yet. And we went out there and played. And I know for me personally, my mind wasn't in a great place. It's great. We still won the game, but when the game ended, we had a deep conversation as a team on, what do we want to do? We're seeing other sports teams, our peers, doing things to shine a light on what's going on in our country, take the light off of ourselves for a game, and see if that can make an impact, because we've been trying all kinds of things and we're not seeing enough action. So this is a good start. Today, we made that decision. Well, we made that decision last night, and today we confirmed it, and everybody was on board.
When you say everybody was on board, does that mean it was unanimous or it was just a big majority?
Yeah, I mean, we said, "Hey, are we gonna do this?" And everybody said yes. So we didn't have an official vote, but we didn't have anyone say otherwise. So that's what we decided.
Marcus, what did you guys consider some of the other things? I know at one point there was a possibility that you guys might be having to either postpone games at Houston, potentially travel problems getting into Houston, just like from a sheer logistical standpoint. Were there things like that that you had to take into account, either yesterday or when you talked about it after the game?
Yeah, that was the other issue. That's why Mickey was in there, our travel secretary. He was just saying, these are options. If we are not playing tomorrow, we can get in there to Houston, keep an eye on the storm, and play it by ear. And this morning we saw that Houston didn't get hit as hard as Louisiana, and that we could get in there today, get ourselves rested for the game tomorrow.
Tony, this is Jeannie McCauley. Oh.
Hey, Marcus. Oakland is a community that has a legacy of civil rights activism, African-American population of over 99,000 people, communities that are directly impacted by these issues. Was that taken into consideration yesterday in your decision to play or not to play? And was it taken into consideration in today's decision?
Yeah, that was something that I brought up. I'm sure Marcus Jensen can add to this, but the city that we play in has a long history of fighting for what is right. And that's what we are trying to do here. And I feel like a lot of our fans will have our backs on this one, especially when they turn on, what they think will be an A's game and it's not on there. They'll understand why. And, to take the light off of us for a night and to educate yourselves on what's going on in our country and how we can make things better. And that's what our statement said a little bit. I don't know, Marcus Jensen, if you want to add to that, being an Oakland guy, but that's what I got on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just continue to push issues to the forefront, knowing that there's a larger picture in mind, and that baseball is secondary to some of these other social issues that are going on. So take into account that, Oakland having a very prevalent Black community, certainly impactful not only in that community, but across the country.
Tony, you've obviously been very active with your +1 effect. Could you talk a little bit about this decision and maybe the decision yesterday to kind of wait and not rush things with the decision?
Yeah, this is what we talk about with the +1 effect, and it's important, and it's honestly, it's so good to see the support from the team. And, these aren't comfortable conversations that we're having. Like, this is a serious problem. And you know, being able to have these uncomfortable conversations is where it starts. And, you know, being able to talk to both Marcuses, being able to, you know, talk to Bomel and come together as a team and really hash out like what is truly going on is important. And so, you know, there's no, you know, obviously we go out and we play baseball to entertain, but there's also another part of me that's like, we can no longer stay silent. It's not a time to just push this stuff that's going on to the wayside anymore. It's, you know, this is at the forefront now. And, you know, by sitting out tonight's game, you know, I feel like it's just a small building block of what we want to see. And, you know, these couple days are historic times in sports. And, you know, one day our kids are going to look back and ask us what was going on, or what did we do to help bring awareness to these, you know, issues in the world. And, you know, we're going to say, you know, one game we just decided not to play, and that's going to speak volumes. And I don't think our team knows the impact of how big it is right now, but down the line, when we get older, we're going to understand that this impact was monumental. And, you know, I in the meeting, I told the guys like, hey, it's tough right now, but I want everybody to walk out here with their heads held high and their chests out, because we're bringing awareness and we're being activists right now. And it's beautiful to see.
Did you guys hear much backlash from your decision to take the field last night?
Say that one more time.
Did you guys hear much backlash from your decision to take the field last night?
No.
Backlash. Yeah, no.
Not at all. I read an article from, I read a couple articles saying that people thought we should have last night, but like I said before, there was not enough time for us to make a decision as a team. When you're in a big league clubhouse at 6:30, everybody's doing different things to get ready for the game. We couldn't even get everybody together at that point. So after the game was the best time to talk about it and come up with a plan for what we wanted to do based off of what our peers were doing in other sports and in our sport.
Marcus, last night, I'm in San Francisco, and last night Clayton Kershaw said, this is something as a white player I can do for my Black teammates and Black fellow players. And what does that mean for a player of the magnitude like Kershaw to speak up and say that after they didn't play last night?
Yeah, I think we all appreciate what Clayton said. Part of me was, you know, last night, you know, thinking about, you know, protesting game and what, you know, the effects of that. But a lot of players are just flat out hurting, and they couldn't perform because they were hurting based off of the video they saw with Jacob Blake, or, you know, the other videos that have happened before, or just stuff that they may be dealing with at home right now, you know, with a lot of, you know, just divisiveness in our country. So that's going on too. You know, I talked to multiple players around the league that just didn't feel comfortable playing last night, flat out, or don't feel comfortable playing at all right now. But we decided to play last night. We got the win, and I'm glad we're taking this action today.
Simeon, you said that your mind wasn't in a great place last night. What was going on internally for you?
For me, it was, you know, just a lot of the talk about the video of Jacob Blake getting shot. I had a death in the family as well. So just, you know, just trying to get prepared for a big league game is hard enough in itself. And that was just, you know, those were the things going through my mind yesterday. So, you know, I feel a lot better today after our talks with the team and just, you know, what we're doing. But I mean, there's just real life stuff going on that a lot of people may not know about.
Tony, this is Tony, this is a time perhaps when actions can speak louder than words. Maybe you could speak to that by taking this step of not playing, that this might give folks a better chance of seeing the kind of change that is so important right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we talk about. You know, you can talk all you want, but if you don't have action with it, then it's kind of hollow. So being able to do something like this is, like I said, it's monumental. It's huge. I can't even really, wrap my head around it. But being able to get guys from all walks of life, some of the best baseball players on the planet, and to come together as a unit and do something like this is special. And being able to do it together is even more important, and especially having support from all the teammates is it's I love to see it.
Hey, Forrest, from your perspective, what's it like seeing your team take a stance like this?
I've talked to Marcus a lot over the last month. I'm hopeful that every action that our players and athletes across the country have taken is going to have the intended effect and educate people and be a call to action. I don't think you can look at what's happening right now and, as Marcus said, see something like that video and not be outraged. So I think the way our players have handled themselves and gotten together, they spoke before opening day as a group. They're speaking now as a group. I think as an organization, that's exactly what you want is for your players to have a unified voice. And I'm incredibly proud that they took this stance today.
David, your team has had kind of a long history with supporting causes such as racial justice. Could you speak to that a little bit? Obviously, Bruce Maxwell took the knee. The team's made a lot of donations, and there have been Black Lives Matters banners and so on.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a city with that history, and I've lived in the Bay Area over 20 years now. I've learned a lot from people like Marcus, both Marcus Simeon and Jensen, who grew up here, and that this is an area that has the ability to affect change, and you're hopeful you can be part of that.
Tony, is there anything you want from the media for us to make sure that your message is heard?
No, I mean, everything is that I said is just, how I feel. Like I said, this is a historic time in sports history, and to be a part of it and to actually be able to not take the field tonight to show people that, we actually care what's going on in the world. And, like I said, we play professional baseball and we're here to entertain. And, but there's a certain part of yourself that can't, we can't stay silent anymore. We have to take action. We have to do something about this. And, being able to make such a monumental statement as of not playing a baseball game to let people know that we have bigger issues in the world at hand right now. I just want to let people know, like, this is bigger than sports, period. So, yeah, I'm proud to be a member of the Oakland A's, and, it's a true blessing.
Hey guys, and this is for whoever wants to answer it. Last night, no players were made available to the media after the game, and I wanted to see if that was who was behind that decision and what the thinking was behind it, what the logic was behind that decision.
Yeah, that wasn't by design. We just had a meeting that had to happen at that time. I'm glad we can get on today and kind of clear that up, but it wasn't anything against you guys. I understand it's our obligation to be available after every game, but in that moment in time last night, we had a team meeting that just kind of overrode anything else. So that's why we had to do that.
You guys alluded to this a little bit, but how difficult has it been to play this season with everything that's going on? I mean, on top of all the social injustice, and then you've got a pandemic that you're playing through and you're away from your families and on all that sort of stuff. How much more difficult is it to just get on the field and play baseball than normal?
I think it's you know, we're a little over halfway, through the season, and I'm just starting to get used to it. And I know there's been talks about a bubble or something else, but I'm fortunate enough to be around my kids and my wife when we're home. And I'm seeing my teammates, it's starting to wear on them a little bit that they can't be with their families. Guys have their kids starting school, they had to leave. It takes a toll on you. We just had Pinder's getting ready to have a baby. Like I said, real life stuff is going on off the field. This is the game we love, but we do emotionally sometimes you just break down. That's where I was kind of at yesterday. I pulled it together. But you're going to have those days like this during this time, during the pandemic, during the racial injustices we're seeing. There's a hurricane, wildfires. There's so many things going on that are affecting other people. And today, we're stepping off the field so that we can shine a light on some other things.
You guys are obviously in first place in the American League. Does that make something like this more difficult for you to decide? And does it make your statement in some ways maybe even stronger?
Yeah, I think, regardless, we're a confident team. And if they were, they told us that, we come back to Texas, we can have a doubleheader. That's great. But we made this decision, not knowing what other teams were going to do. And that didn't matter. Other team, if the rest of the league said we're not playing, that's great. But regardless of anyone else's decision, this is the decision we made as a group, and we came together and talked for 45 minutes to an hour about it last night and felt strongly about it.
Were there discussions today with the Rangers? Mark, have there been talks with the Rangers today?
I think that, David talked to their GM. I haven't talked to any of their players. I know Tony might have talked to some guys, but I have not. So if anyone else wants to answer
that. I talked to Willie Calhoun, and they didn't know. They had some guys showing up to the field and stuff, and that's when I kind of told them that we weren't going to be taking the field. So I didn't know their decision if they're going to stand with us or what they're going to do. So not sure.
Marcus, you and David, maybe you can respond to this. This is an enormous statement that you're making, but what do you hope is next? And David, there are different major league teams that are talking about using stadiums as polling places coming up in November. Are they as aggressive as the A's have been in the community and continue to do that? Are there some discussions about what can the next step be aside from making this kind of immense statement, but looking for something, day in and day out?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Vince, because a couple of us have been talking about donating our day's pay on Jackie Robinson Day to a cause. What that cause is, for me, I think it should be related to the integration of the police and the community in Oakland through mentorships, programs. I know when I was growing up in Richmond, they had the Richmond PAL program, the Police Athletic League, where you have a police officer like as the coach, of a bunch of kids in the inner city. So just things like that need to be revisited, or I'm sure there's been attempts to have those programs, but we need to dig deeper and revisit them. And hopefully the funds that we can raise as a team will help that cause.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm not sure about the Coliseum as a polling place, Vince. I know that's something Dave Cavill's been discussing, but just to echo, what Marcus said about about putting your money where your actions are. Obviously, the organization has been active in donating over the last couple of months, and I think this action by Major League players has started a conversation between the Players Alliance and Major League Baseball that is going to result in money being put towards the kind of things that Marcus just mentioned. I think that's a huge positive effect of this.
Tony, I know we talked when the George Floyd stuff was kind of new, and that stuff hit you pretty hard, obviously. I mean, it hit a lot of people hard. After what happened over the weekend, I mean, how tough was that to just kind of swallow, and how just kind of processing all that?
Yeah, it's been a lot to process, and I think sometimes as fans, you just see players on the field, and sometimes you don't think that they're going through anything. And you know, we have been going through stuff, and sometimes you can use the field as an outlet to play even harder. And it's been tough, honestly. Like being in the cage yesterday, you know, I was kind of foggy, and I wanted to try to just forget about it as much as I could. But like I said, today I'm glad that we're, you know, making this stance of not taking the field, and kind of even give some time to just for us to just regroup and clear our heads, and you know, revisit you know, what we want to do when we get back on the field. So I think it's good. I think it's good that we're actually going to be able to have some time to just clear our heads and clear our mentals, and allow people to see that, you know, this is bigger than sports.
For those of you that were with the team when Bruce took a knee, how different or similar were the conversations that you guys were having then as opposed to last night when you were discussing it?
Yeah, they were very different. I think that if I can recall correctly, Bruce called a meeting the day of, either the day before or the day of, that he was going to take a knee at home in Oakland. And, you know, it was still kind of you weren't seeing it as much yet. You know, you saw it with Colin Kaepernick and a couple of the 49ers and some of the NFL, but you definitely were not seeing it in MLB or NBA, really. And now so many more things have happened in the country, and the protesting has been, you know, more prevalent in pretty much every major city in the country, for sure in Oakland. And you see that, you know, you see where Bruce is coming from now. But at that time, it was a little bit harder because everybody was so focused on their job and putting their head down and going to work. And I don't want to lose my job over this because Colin Kaepernick did it and look what happened to him. You know, there was a fear there, but now there's more of a platform to speak up. And it sucks that Bruce had to be, you know, treated the way he was treated after that, and yelled at and screamed at by fans. And now, you know, there's just a bigger platform, and more people are listening, I think.
How encouraged are you guys to see the movement spreading through baseball, in particular, the way that it has been last couple days?
Yeah, it's powerful to see guys like Christian Yelich get up and, you know, talk about what their team was going through and the stance that they're taking. I mean, like I said, I keep saying that, like, you know, we're going to look back. These are historic times in sports history. And I think players are understanding how powerful their voices can be, and how many people do look up to us, and how many people do appreciate the stances that we are taking, that we're understanding that it's bigger than us. It's just bigger than us. And it's good to see teams around the league, the NHL, the NBA, they're serious about this stuff. And like I said, us as players, we can no longer stay silent and just go out and play and think that the world is fine, because it's not. And I just want, you know, unity as a nation, and unity, and to treat people how you want to be treated. I mean, it's as simple. It's, you know, we talked about this in third grade, the golden rule of just treat someone how you want to be treated. And we can't even do that right now. So, yeah, like I said, I'm blessed to be a part of the A's organization, and a team that supports us.
Bob, I wonder if you can address what it was like managing last night. You've managed thousands of games. How different was the vibe in the dugout? And then just you were a coach for the Diamondbacks during the time with 9/11 as they went to the World Series against the Yankees. It's not the same thing, but there were certainly things happening in the country, and you were trying to do your job, from a baseball point of view. Just what was it like last night, and what's it like now with the players making this statement moving forward?
Yeah, it was really uncomfortable at the beginning because you were together so late, and I gave everybody the option not to play last night because we couldn't get everybody in the same room. But once the game started, it took a while to settle in. I was telling my guys today, I missed a couple things early in the game just because my head wasn't there. And then once the game got going and, then the intensity came back, and it's just kind of natural to do your thing. But I think everybody kind of felt the same way that, that there's just bigger things at stake right now and more important things than baseball, even though you have to do your job. So it was a tough night.
Marcus Jensen, you and I have had this conversation. This is the 100th anniversary of the Negro Leagues, and it was supposed to be, something that really brought a shining light on the players that didn't get an opportunity to get what other players not of color got a chance to do. And as this has happened now with this repeating itself with the injustices, I just wonder, what you're thinking about that. You've got a history with your family, with the Negro Leagues, and, wanting to have a celebration that's you're not given an opportunity to do that.
It's certainly ironic on one hand, but it just sheds light on the history of our country on another. So while there's supposed to be a positive light shed on the Negro Leagues and the history of that, the fundamentals of what the Negro Leagues are based on racism. So, that's the undertone behind it. And some of these events that have continued to happen throughout the years are just evidence to that. So, what we're doing now, in terms of taking a day of not playing is just a stepping stone to something else. It's one action that leads to another action. And then, followed by other industries or other teams or wherever they're taking action. And so now you have all these different actions taking place in a variety of areas to attack or address an entity that suppresses. And so I commend the A's and the A's organization for allowing us to do this and giving us support, and the freedom to do this, because it's a difficult time for everybody. It's heavy. When you talk about the preparation of yesterday's game, it's difficult because it's heavy. And the objective of baseball players is to compartmentalize everything. You have your baseball, you have your family life, you have all these different things to address, and you compartmentalize the best you can. Well, some things are so heavy that you can't compartmentalize, and they shift over into other aspects of your life. And in this case, it's the baseball game. So we're using this platform, we're using whatever resources you can to address certain issues.
Anything else, guys?
No, thanks all of you for coming and joining us today.
We really
Much
appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right.